I had an idea for some construction paper pens, and this is just construction paper that kids use in school. I've cut it down to about the correct length for a slimline or trimline pen, and I've got a second one already made up to give you an idea of what I'm doing. I'm just rolling it. So to do that, I'm just using a hex key. I don't think I fanned it on the first version. Alright, I'm just using the key here as a mandrel, trying to keep the rest of that straight while I'm doing this. And like most of these winding things, it's a lot harder to get it started than it is to do the rest of the process. I'm just going to wind this up. This is quite a bit more than you would need to do a pen that size. As you can see, it's all flaring out. And I just grab some Scotch tape. Tape that up. And I'm going to tighten this a little bit. Just kind of twist on it. You'll tighten that seam up. And then use some thin CA. I got a little carried away. And then just let that set up. And you probably would want to pot this in something. You could probably coat the entire thing in CA. But I'm thinking it'd probably be safer to either pot it in epoxy or cactus juice. I'm not sure which I'm going to do. I'll let you know after I start the next step. But either one should work quite well for this. That one looks a little loose. Might have to do that one again. Anyway, so I'll pot this up and then we'll go to the turning. I went ahead and rolled a long one as well, just in case I need to use this one because where is it? That hole is too big. Just in case I need to use this one, I didn't want somebody to come back and say, the colors are different, it's a different order, you're cheating. I'm not cheating, I made a spare just in case. And since I glued that one in place, it's impossible to fix. So I'll go ahead and pot both of those, pot this one, and we'll go from there. After everything is set up, I'll go ahead and trim the blanks to size. And then move on to drilling them out with a 7mm bit, since I'm doing these as a trimline size pen. After they've been drilled out, I can insert the brass tube. And move on to making sure everything is flush on the ends before they go off to the lathe. And then the fun begins. I can start taking each of the blanks down to size. Starting by roughing the shape in, making sure I have the ends down to the bushing size. And then I just work from there, shaping it with whatever honestly comes to mind at the time that I'm on the lathe. I'm not much of a pre-planning kind of person when it comes to the pens, except for a few more elaborate designs. Once that's finished, I move on to sanding, starting at 150 grit, 240, 320, 4 whatever, and 600 grit. Making sure everything's smooth and ready for the next step. So I wipe everything down and then use some extra thin or thin CA to get at least 3 coats, preferably 4 to 5 coats for something like this. It gives it a nice hard shell and makes sure everything stays together and is easy to polish since this isn't a hard wood. Once the CA is dry, I move on to a high gloss friction polish and 1 to 2 coats of that, and the blanks are finished. So I insert the nib into one side of one of the blanks and then the transmission or the mechanism into the other side of that blank. I like to test fit until it's just the right length. And then I can move on to the other blank. Add the clip to one side, making sure that's flush. Add the middle piece, and we have a finished piece. So what's my take on this? I didn't use the second roll that I actually did originally in the video. I used that long roll that I made up for the second piece. So this was placed in cactus juice and then placed in a vacuum chamber and held for about 45 to 50 minutes until the bubbles mostly stopped. I'm not a patient man, so I tend to not wait until they completely stop. Then it stayed in the vacuum chamber for another hour and a half, was pulled out, placed in a oven at 200 degrees that will never be used for food, for about 2 hours, and that turned it into that brick of material. Here's an offcut. So it's still paperish on the inside, but the outside is a hard shell, and it actually absorbs all the way through for the most part and bonds all the paper together. It's normally used for stabilizing wood that's soft or spalted, rotten, that type of thing, but it seemed to work fairly well with the paper. Not perfect. There were some parts that tried to delaminate. There is a part, where is it? Right there, that delaminated enough to actually get it below where it's supposed to be, but it's not real visible, to be quite honest, in the finished piece. So, what do you think? It's definitely a construction paper or colored paper, whatever you say in your area, pen. Paper was maybe 10 cents. The pen kit itself, this is a trim line, and it goes by a few other names. So the pen kit goes for, $2.70 or so, because it's the thicker one. So overall, all in is $3 or less. Plus the cactus juice and electricity to run the vacuum pump and the electricity to run the oven. Okay, let's say about $4, $4.50, somewhere around there to make. So what do you think? Is this a good use for paper? So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and until next time.